This is Viterbi Voices, your chance to hear stories about research, classes, student life, and more.
Directly from our students, faculty, and other members of our engineering community. All right here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
Welcome back into Viterbi Voices. Once again, I'm one of your hosts. My name is Paul Ledesma. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Admission here at the USC Viterbi School of Engineering.
And my name is Audrey Roberts. I'm a senior studying mechanical engineering here at USC.
And joining us is another one of our current students at USC. Cami, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Cami and I'm also a senior studying electrical and computer engineering and minoring in dance.
And where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Orlando, Florida.
All right, cool. So Cami, this episode, what is this one all about? What did you bring us today?
So this episode is a live chat that I got to host of about 6 USC students who all participate in really cool activities outside of engineering. And they've used it some way in their engineering degree to become stronger or more interesting engineers. And so it was a really fun discussion where we got to talk a lot about, I don't know, what it's like to have to balance all those things.
That's awesome. I think that's an important element. So if you are someone that is thinking about studying engineering, but you're worrying that it's going to limit your activities, your involvement, the way that you can study other things outside of engineering, this was a fantastic live event that was held, was it just last week, I think?
Yeah, last Sunday.
Yeah, so it was a live event that was held, and this is a recording. This is the audio pull of that recording, of that specific event. So you can listen to that. And if you want to watch the YouTube video, you can go to viterbi.live/chats, viterbi.live/chats, and you can check out the YouTube recording and also register for the next one because there are a bunch of other live chats coming up. So there's lots of different topics, so make sure you do that. But without further ado, let's get out of the way and get into the recording of this live chat on doing more than just engineering.
Already the end of another weekend. They really fly by.
That time never ends. It just starts and then it's the end of the semester.
This semester, midterm starts so early.
Okay, I think we can get this chat started. First things first, we want to welcome each of you to the Do More Than Engineering live chat brought to you by us, real life engineering students who were in your shoes not too long ago. So shown here is our agenda for the next hour. This panel of current engineering students will kick it off by introducing themselves. Then they're going to be answering questions that you submit on the webinar Q&A feature, which you should be able to see right now at the bottom of your screen. The theme for today is Do More Than Engineering, or as we call it here, Engineering Plus.
And since that's what our panelists are here for, we encourage any questions related to this topic to be put in the Q&A. As we are just students, we are here to share the student perspective of Viterbi and cannot answer the majority of admissions related questions. So please direct those to our admissions staff at viterbi.admission@usc.edu. If you're viewing this live chat from YouTube or viewing the live chat recording later, don't worry, you can still email us questions at vstudent@usc.edu. We may not get to emailed questions during this session, but one of us will definitely follow up with a response. So hold off on submitting questions through the Q&A right now. We will start taking them soon. At the end of the session, we're going to spend a couple minutes going over how to get in touch with the Viterbi admissions office. So if you do want some admissions related answers, stay in touch. Cool. So something you're going to hear our panelists say a lot over the course of this hour is Engineering Plus. And before we start, I want to take a minute and just talk about what it means because it can be a little confusing. Basically, Engineering Plus is a term unique to Viterbi where we believe interdisciplinary study and interests outside of engineering make us inherently better engineers. So whether it's a minor, an organization, volunteering, or even just like a fun class, students should explore all that USC has to offer. And today, our panelists all have interests outside of engineering that have a positive impact on their experience as engineering students. So let's go ahead and get started. My name is Cami, and I'm going to be hosting today's live chat, as well as relaying your questions to the panel. I'm a senior from Orlando, Florida, studying electrical and computer engineering and minoring in dance. Outside of engineering, I'm interested in art. So now for our panelists.
Howdy everyone, my name is Ben. I'm in the class of 2021 and I'm also in the progressive degree program. So getting both a bachelor's and a master's in computer science, graduating this coming May. And my Engineering Plus is music. I'm from San Jose, California.
Hi everyone, my name's Ashley. I'm a junior studying environmental engineering. I'm from Chicago and my Engineering Plus is Camp Kesem.
I'm Paul Castor. I'm a senior from Kansas City studying computer science and business. My Engineering Plus is entrepreneurship, business, finance, stuff around that.
Hi everyone, my name is Sheetal. I'm also a senior. I'm studying chemical engineering with a minor in political science. I'm originally from Guangzhou, China, and my Engineering Plus is environmental policy.
Hi everyone, I'm Jillian. I'm a senior studying computer science. I'm also getting my master's degree in the progressive degree program, and I'm originally from the Washington, D.C. area. My Engineering Plus is music.
Great, thanks guys. So finally, these are our moderators who are going to be behind the scenes responding to questions submitted during the Q&A that don't get answered on screen. So let's meet them.
Hi everyone, my name is Alex. I am a junior from Palos Verdes, California, majoring in industrial and systems engineering, and my Engineering Plus is being on the USC Spirit team.
Hey everyone, my name is Derek. I'm a junior studying industrial and systems engineering from Los Gatos, California, and my Engineering Plus is being on the club volleyball team.
Hi everybody, my name is Mark. I'm a junior studying mechanical engineering from Diamond Bar, California, and my Engineering Plus is having a minor in sports business and management.
Hi, my name is Nick. I'm a junior studying mechanical engineering, and I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area, and my Engineering Plus is a minor in disruptive innovation.
Great, thanks. Very impressive moderators and panelists, for sure. But now it's officially time to submit your questions. If you're on the webinar, we encourage you to use the Q&A button, which you guys are already doing, which is great. And if you're viewing this from YouTube, just email us your questions to vstudent@usc.edu, and we're going to answer that at a later date. And we want you all to know that a few years ago, we were in the exact same position you're in now, applying to colleges and trying to decide which college will be a positive environment for us. And that's why we're here to answer your questions and speak about our honest experiences. So we're going to talk about our interests outside of engineering, how they relate back to our majors, involvements on campus, and really whatever you're interested in learning about. So again, thank you for submitting so many questions already. But if you're just tuning in, please use the Q&A function and we'll totally answer as many as we possibly can. But we'll jump in with the first question right now. And I just want to ask each of our panelists to talk about what they do outside of engineering.
Yeah, so just to start us off, first of all, as mentioned, I have a minor, so that's kind of something academic that I spend a lot of time out and outside of engineering. So I have a minor in political science with law and public policy as my focus. Additionally, I was involved mostly in non-engineering student orgs on campus. I was very heavily involved with Model UN, and I do research in the political science department here at USC.
Thanks, Chital. As for me, my biggest sort of outside of engineering activity would be music and music production. Y'all might have seen from the cover photo for this chat, but I'm also a DJ, so I do some DJing, music production, songwriting. That's kind of both academically, I've been able to pick up a music production minor here at USC, and also outside of that, do things like make YouTube videos, produce music for other artists, and that kind of thing. And I also play ultimate frisbee outside of that. So sort of having the sport, the artistic, creative aspect with the music, and having engineering as the baseline for my academic experience.
My main involvement outside of engineering is Camp Kesem, which is a national organization that provides year-long support for kids affected by a parent's cancer. I'm actually the director this year, so definitely takes up a lot of my time. But yeah, I just love it with my whole heart. It's my favorite thing outside of engineering.
Yeah, my main involvement outside of engineering is that I play the violin. I've been playing since I was 3 years old, and it's always been a big part of my life. I haven't taken up a music minor, so it's not part of school academically, but definitely continuing to practice, continuing to play with friends, and with people I meet at USC.
I think mine's probably a little bit less altruistic or maybe arts-based than everyone else's, but my biggest time commitment outside of my engineering degree is my management consulting club, Trojan Consulting Group. And within the group, we've done a lot of really fun work over the years, helping big businesses solve hard problems. And I've met some awesome people there along the way, and have had the opportunity of really sharpening a lot of analytical skills.
Great. Those were all awesome answers from our panelists. If you guys could all speak a little bit more about what inspired you to get into your activity. Was it something you did in high school, or did you start it maybe at USC?
Yeah, for me, I think I kind of just fell into this plus. It wasn't something I ever really interacted with in high school, but my freshman year, I went to the involvement fair, my first or second week there, came across this club that sounded kind of interesting, went to an info session, applied, somehow got in, and then kind of fell into that. And I think for me, Model UN, the club I was involved with, really served as a pathway to understanding that I was interested in policy outside of engineering, even in an academic sense. So, I declared my minor much later. I think it was my junior year. I started doing research this past summer. So it's definitely not something that I came in knowing I wanted to do. It's something that's kind of evolved as I've been here at USC.
For me, music production was definitely a continuation of my high school interests, because that's been something I've been doing at least as early as starting high school. But one thing that I developed here was sort of the songwriting aspect, because there was a mandatory songwriting class as part of the music production minor. Not something that was on my radar before coming here, but having to do that class, it ended up being one of my favorite classes of my entire college career. So that really got me started in writing the lyrics, and it's been a blessing to be able to do that now.
I learned about Camp Kesem actually in one of my engineering classes, first semester freshman year. It's called Freshman Academy, and all freshman engineering students take it. And what we call is like a coach, which is an upperclassman that kind of just serves as a mentor. She told me she was involved in it, and I could just see it in her eyes that it was something that she loved and that had completely changed her experience at USC. And that was the first time I heard about it, and now I'm loving every second of it.
I think you guys will notice a common theme among the answers, which is that we kind of came into our engineering plus serendipitously. And I think of all the people that I know at USC who really found passions and communities that they were engaged with, it happened serendipitously. Mine was similar. I came in thinking that I really wanted to do manufacturing engineering because I was into robotics in high school. So I thought, perfect, I'll learn how to build robots for big production lines. And what I quickly realized over time was that I wasn't actually interested in that. So I began interested in business and how to help businesses run more efficiently, and I found the consulting club after that.
For me, as late as my junior year of high school, I thought I still wanted to be a music major. So when I decided to make that switch to engineering and study computer science, for me, I just wanted to make sure that even in college, you know, I was able to continue enjoying music and enjoying playing the violin.
Thanks, Jillian. I had a super similar experience too with dance, wanting to come in with already a lot of experience in that area. Caitlin Ann has asked a really great question. And she's wondering, have you ever had your Engineering Plus topic involved in your coursework or maybe an internship? And can you talk about maybe like the overlap between your extracurriculars and what you do outside of engineering and how maybe that makes you better at your engineering work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's two kind of examples I can kind of think of, academic and, like Cami said, stuff that you do over the summer. So academically, I took a class for my emphasis within my major, so sustainable energy within chemical engineering. And it wasn't a very technical class, which is kind of different to a lot of my upper division courses. So it involved a lot of analysis of environmental issues that kind of came at it from a policy perspective. So having that background was really helpful. And I think that was one of the classes where I've had the least trouble in my major, which is great. You know, in an engineering major, you take all the easier classes you can. And I think that was partly because of my policy background. And then in terms of interning, the summer after my sophomore year, I interned at an environmental startup where the work I did wasn't very technical. And I think having that background of being able to interact with non-technical classes through my minor was really helpful.
I agree. I think for me, music has played sort of a direct role in interfacing with developing my computer science and research background, because I've been able to find a research lab at USC to work in that does studies into music emotion recognition and sort of like using machine learning to analyze how music affects human perception, human narrative experience, and human enjoyment of sort of emotional topics. And so for me, it's been kind of amazing to have something that directly allows me to develop my computer science interests while having sort of a passion for the music that's at the heart of it, and having that be the focus of the research, with, you know, machine learning and data science being the method of approaching it.
Does anyone want to talk about maybe how it doesn't fit in with your engineering? Like, do you use it as a release or maybe a way to detox the engineering mindset a little bit?
I can speak for mine a little bit. I actually ended up using it to replace my engineering degree as something that I wanted to do full time. So I decided that I was actually more interested in doing business in kind of like a full-time role, although I was able to use my engineering degree within it. So I decided that I wanted to work in a finance role. And within USC, I used it as a release because I oftentimes felt that in my engineering classes, they were really interesting and they were hard, but I had trouble understanding how I was actually going to use it in the real world. And I think that's sometimes an issue that engineers feel. And so getting to do something that's totally different on a different mental plane really helped me come back to it with a fresh head and an excitement to solve those computer science problems.
Yeah, I think for me, it's really been, music has really been more of a detox for me ever since I came to college. I've done a couple of projects, you know, looking at the intersection between music and computer science. But sometimes, you know, at the end of the day, you just want to have like a fun social event that you can do with your friends that doesn't have to do with writing more code, doing more math, something completely separate from your academics. And it's really nice to have that release.
I think Camp Kesem has kind of been like a mix, because in some ways it's a complete release. Like every time I see any of the counselors and campers, it just completely makes my week. But it's also been something where, like, on the week of camp, I'm working with 4 other counselors who come from completely different backgrounds and completely different majors. And I have to learn, you know, how we work together to make this the best week for the kids. And it's just a lot of learning on my toes at camp, because nothing goes as planned. And it's just a lot of collaboration, which I definitely can take into my engineering classes and into internships.
Yeah, I love those answers because you guys use your pluses in such different ways. I think a question we've been getting a lot, though, is how do you manage basically doing your engineering coursework, then also maybe having friends and like a social life and still being able to pursue these outside interests.
I think it's really just an exercise in balance. You know, the more organized you are, the more you're able to kind of figure out what percentage of your life you want to dedicate to different things. And that percentage can change at different times. You know, maybe during midterm season, I'm going to go all in on computer science. But at other points during the semester, it's important to know like when you need to take breaks and when you need to take care of yourself, and allow yourself to have that time with your plus.
Yeah, I think kind of going off of that, sometimes it's like in those midterm seasons, it's like our engineering pluses can seem like almost a burden. And I think taking a step back and being like, I do this because I love it. Like, yes, right now the nitty gritty doesn't feel great, but if you like take that step back and you're like, this is my community, like this is where I feel so loved, I think it just really helps because it becomes then that refresher again, instead of something that feels like something on your to-do list or something.
The best advice I ever got related to this was actually from one of my professors doing a summer camp before I came into university. And what he told me is that, look, you're going to have so much stuff to do in college. And like, as a professor, I don't even expect you to do every reading. And I don't know why that made me feel so good, but I think that like we all know that we can't do everything 100%. And so I think you need to give yourself leeway to do a lot of things in like 80-20, right? That like you get 80% of the reward doing 20% of the effort. And so, you know, during different times, you'll have to balance things in different ways. But overall, I think you can really gain a lot of utility from each of your activities by really focusing on which part you think is most important or most enjoyable.
Those are all great answers. I will say there's a lot of resources too from the university. So if you feel like maybe it is too much to balance everything, we have the Core Check Center, which you can go to and they'll help you basically organize your life. I went when I was a freshman because I felt overwhelmed by trying to balance everything. And they like basically redid my schedule and made me really good at using my calendar and writing to-do lists and stuff like that. So definitely coming in as like a not organized person, USC is here to help for sure. So moving on to other questions, how have you been able to apply? So we kind of asked, how do your interests apply to engineering? How do you think engineering kind of influences your outside interests and like guides what you choose to do with the little time that you do have?
I think that engineering being a very practical, world, realistic, focused discipline really helps you, definitely helps you get better at time management, that's for sure. And that's something that you can carry to your entire life. But more than that, I think latching on to something Paul said earlier is trying to be pragmatic with the amount of utility you can get out with the limited amount of time that you have. So following the 80-20 principle, being able to make the most of anything, make the most of your day, make the most of your week, make the most of your 4 years in college. Those are all things that you can learn from engineering that can take you far in your plus or anywhere else in your life.
Yeah, and just kind of follow up on that, in addition to all the skills, sometimes there is, a clear content overlap as well. And that's something I think I've really tried to do in my classes. So I specifically try to take engineering classes that I know will work well with my policy classes. Like I'm in an energy and the environment class right now because I'm hoping that'll help me write, better papers for my political science class I'm going to take next semester. So there definitely can be overlap in terms of content if you, try hard enough with your electives.
Yeah, I forgot who told me this, but I think someone basically said like you go to college as an engineer just to learn how to think and like to learn how to solve problems. And I think no matter what your engineering plus is, you're going to have problems come up, and being able to work through them when the answer is not obvious at all in the beginning is something that you learn as an engineer and can apply to almost everything in your life.
I think Ashley is exactly right on that, learning how to think. The engineering disciplines are really different from one another, but I think the things that they have in common is that they apply a really linear framework to problem solving and often come to results that are unexpected. And they teach you to follow your instincts, but also be skeptical of your instincts. And I think that the more kind of issues you solve and the more things you learn in the engineering space, the more you're able to apply those problems and those problem solving skills to.
Yeah, these are all great answers. But I just want to say before we get to our next question or like we continue, if you're just tuning in, welcome to our live chat about Viterbi Do More Than Engineering. And I would just like to say that we've been getting a lot of like admissions related questions, like asking about financial aid, applications, essays, scores, that sort of thing. And since we're just students, we're only here to answer questions about student life. So if you have like specific admissions related questions, please send them to viterbi.admissions@usc.edu, or you can just go to our website, viterbiadmission.usc.edu. Feel free to check those places out. Again, we're just students, so I'm sorry we cannot answer your admissions questions. But we have been getting some questions about what you're supposed to do when you basically get on campus. So let's say you have an interest in music and engineering. What can you do once you get to USC to pursue both those interests?
I can take that. So I guess for me, I came to USC with a plan. I knew kind of, I did a little bit of research before I came here. I thought about, which groups I would want to join, what I would want to do once I got to campus. And then I stepped foot on campus and just threw that plan away because I found actually in my first 2 weeks of being at USC, talking to students, going to the involvement fair, that there was a lot that I couldn't find just from research alone, and a lot of really surprising opportunities that, if I had just followed my plan exactly as it was on my first day, I definitely wouldn't be where I am right now.
For me, I think there were sort of 3 different avenues for pursuing a plus right when you step on campus. The first would be through USC academically, which a lot of us here have taken classes in the plus that we're interested in. Viterbi encourages students to take classes in things that are outside of engineering. That's pretty straightforward. You can just sort of contact the department for that and get information on that. The second would be on-campus resources, mostly clubs. USC has a really great involvement fair every semester where you can sort of walk around and talk to a bunch of different clubs. There's clubs for everything. And so that's a great way to meet people who are like-minded, other students, and get resources. You can also talk to other students, and just by meeting them, there's plenty of students who are interested in the same things as you. And then the third one, which it takes a little bit more proactivity, is Los Angeles as a city sort of has everything. It's got amazing arts and culture, whether it's music, dance, art, fashion, film, you name it. If you research and get out into the city, you can have a lot of opportunities to go into stuff that you're passionate about. So I think there's a lot of options for you.
One thing I kind of want to add is I completely agree. And the academics is a place to start that most people don't think about starting in because it sounds kind of boring. Like, why would I do something fun in my classes? But I think the GE system, to me at least, exists precisely for that reason. So, your first couple of semesters, I kind of urge you to take a look at the general education classes offered, less as a chance to figure out which one's the best one to take, and more as a chance to pick a class that looks kind of interesting. Maybe you don't like political science, but that one class about that one, specific thing sounds really cool. And you take that class and then maybe you realize you've loved it all along, which is exactly what happened with me.
I loved Jillian's advice that she talked about earlier, which was that you come in with like this idea of a plan, right? You have your grand master plan for 4 years, and the best first step is to throw it away. And the best next step is to like find stuff that really interests you. And in particular, to look for the people who really give you energy, because the reality is sometimes you will be doing problem sets at like 3 a.m, and you will be having like tough midterms for engineering. And so you want your engineering plus to be something that really re-energizes you. It shouldn't feel like a tough class that you have to take again, or something you're crossing off of your list to put it on your resume. And so by following the people in your interactions and making sure you're getting the energy you need, you can make sure that you're picking an engineering plus topic that's really going to sustain you for 4 years.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Those are all really great answers, great advice. I just want to ask maybe a more general
I
question,
remember
not
actually my
about
first
Engineering
semester
Plus,
in
but maybe
math
about
class, it was
Viterbi.
Calc
This is
2,
from
and I
Stephen.
went in, and I was like, okay, 50
And
people,
he's
small
curious,
room, this is
how
gonna
would
be
you
awful.
describe kind
And
of
like day
Viterbi
one,
student?
there were like
Who are the people that you go to
4
class with?
girls kind of like
Maybe this
right
is
next to me,
about
and like in
Engineering
the
Plus
first 5
actually,
minutes we're
because
all
I feel
talking.
like
It's
that
like we had
does
been involved
definitely
in sports, we had
influence
been
the student
involved in
body a
like
lot.
music and all these
But yeah,
different things, and
just
I was
talk
like,
about,
we're all
I
this
guess,
cool.
what USC
And
students
then
are
I
like.
basically like called my mom on the way out of class, and I'm like, Mom, the engineers are so cool here. Like, they're not nerds, they have so many interests, and the interests overlap with like their engineering degree, or maybe they don't, but everyone is just, I would say, so passionate and like social and well-rounded, which was a shock, but like the best surprise.
I think for me, the best surprise about the Viterbi students was that everyone is so open. You know, you go into class and, you know, yeah, you're all in the same computer science class, you have the same assignments, but everyone's there to try to help each other succeed. So I remember my freshman year, super late nights working on assignments with other computer science majors in a lounge until 2 a.m. And everyone's there trying to help each other and trying to support each other through the things they don't know. And it's okay to not know, because people are there to really support you, and especially upperclassmen as well, always open to sharing their experiences, giving you advice on your classes, career options. So definitely was a great surprise for me that everyone was so willing to help.
I kind of want to add on to what Ashley said, because I think my biggest takeaway about the people in Viterbi is that there isn't really a way to describe them, because they're just everyone is so different. You know, you come in sometimes with a stereotype of what you think your typical engineering student is going to look like. And I just remember showing up and realizing that every single person I met, you know, worked to dispel some sort of stereotype that I had about one of their involvements or their major or their interests. And every time I met someone new, I just realized that these people are just so three-dimensional, which sounds a little bit like I came in with no idea of the fact that people could have interests, which might be true. But I think everyone here is so unique and so interesting, I think has been my biggest takeaway.
I think the sentiment of what Chantal's saying is exactly on point. It's easy to think the question is like, do I like the people in engineering? But that's a tough question, because like engineering is so diverse. I think like the most interesting question is, are there people that I like in engineering? And the answer to that is absolutely yes, because there's so many different types of people who are into so many different types of things. And I think one thing that USC in particular has focused on, and I've seen it over the last 4 years, is bringing in a diversity in the engineering class that really stretches on all terms and aspects of a person. And so you're able to find people that you click with. And for me, that happened freshman year. And I still have these people in my classes, and we form group chats, and we always talk to each other about things. And that's become my support network within engineering. And my impression with all the other students in Viterbi is that they have the same experience, not with the same people, but the same experience.
Oh, that's so, you guys make me so proud of my school. So kind of building off that, because that was such a heartfelt answer from all of you, what would you say is like your favorite like Viterbi memory? Because most of us, I think, are seniors now too. So just get emotional, go back. What was your favorite point here in Viterbi?
Do you want it to be linked to our Engineering Plus?
It can be linked to your Engineering Plus. It can be not linked. It can be anything. I just feel like you guys represent a wide array of engineers here.
Okay, this might not be conventionally fun, and in the moment I presume it like wasn't very fun, but looking back on it, it's fun. One of my really close friends and I in my major were up late one night studying on campus in a study room in this research building that we sometimes like to study in. We were there until quite possibly 2:30 a.m. and it was for a class that we were creating a project in. So it was a video-based project. So we had to record ourselves reading a script over like an animation that we had made. And let me tell you, that's hard on a regular day. Doing that at 2 a.m. is ridiculous. I think we must have refilmed that video at least 5 times. But at 2:30 a.m. we were done, and it was due the next morning. So we decided, to kind of have some fun with it. We just emailed the professor then instead of scheduling a send. And walking back from that study session, being done with that huge end of semester project, and just talking about everything we had been through that entire semester was one of my favorite memories from, I think, my junior year.
One of my favorite memories is from my freshman year. So there's a problem that is given almost every year to algorithm students that basically involves how many chicken nuggets you can buy at a certain price. Of course, in order to model this problem, a bunch of us pitched in and bought 100 chicken nuggets so that we could try out different combinations of boxes of chicken nuggets and how much that would cost. And I think that's still one of my favorite memories of engineering at USC, just being silly and fun while also, learning and working together.
My favorite memory actually doesn't directly relate to me. It's one of the other students. And it happened my sophomore year. I was in the intro to basically computer security, so the hacking class. And on the first day, there was this woman who was totally new to the major, totally new to computer science. And the first thing she said during the first class was, "Can you guys explain the difference between hardware and software to me?" And, I thought it was like, oh my gosh, that's so tough. This is going to be a tough course for her. And it was amazing. And it was my favorite moment because during the course, she actually ended up with the highest grade of anyone in the class. She's now going into computer security. And I think that interaction and that progression shows the determination of the students and how Viterbi is able to bring a lot of different types of people in, but really support them. And if there are people who want to study something and are committed to it, there's professors and other mentors and other students there to help them.
The favorite part of my Viterbi experience has been the support that I've received as an undergraduate researcher in the research lab that I work at, which is the Signal Analysis and Interpretation Lab, or SAIL. And the professor there, Dr. Sri Narayanan, is sort of a legend in terms of, I guess, just research in general. I see Cami has a big reaction here. He's an electrical engineering legend, but he also pays so much attention to the undergrads in his labs. And he encouraged me to first author a paper, which I never would have done on my own. I wouldn't have had the courage to go out and do that. And sort of with his guidance, I was able to do that and also go present it in England at a conference, which was unheard of. At least I wouldn't have thought of it when I was in high school. So that's definitely one of the things that has stood out most to me about the Viterbi experience.
That's awesome. Wow. I'm honestly so impressed. I feel like my favorite memory is definitely one that, I don't know, looking back, it's is this my favorite memory? But I think it is. It was in that same math class. Basically, there were 5 of us, and it's probably those worst moments where you fail a test where you find your best friends. And so we had just gotten our math test back before we had seen the average. And as a first semester freshman, I didn't realize that a 60 could be above the average. And so all of us were oh my gosh, we're never going to make it. We're not going to do engineers. Who thought this was a good idea? We're walking to class. I was on my bike. My one friend was almost crying. And then we basically get into the class and he was the average was a 40, great job. And I was just completely shook. And all of us were okay, this is kind of whack. I don't understand engineering. So then we all went to the Sprinkles cupcake machine and rewarded ourselves with sprinkles. So that's probably my favorite memory. She also became my roommate, so clearly it worked.
Oh, that's so perfect. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can definitely attest to Shri being amazing. He's the king in our department. Great guy. Great memories, everyone. Totally loved that. But now that we've reminisced a little bit, now for a tougher question. How do you think, this is from Kaya, by the way. Thank you, Kaya, for submitting this. How has maybe Engineering Plus shaped your plans for after graduation? Which I know is right now maybe a sensitive topic for a lot of seniors.
Yeah, it's a little sensitive, but I think we can talk about it. So my Engineering Plus is kind of policy, law and public policy, political science, everything in that realm. And I think the more time I've spent kind of exploring that, especially through my classes in the last 2 years, And through my research, the more I've realized that I want to work at the intersection of my plus and my engineering, coincidentally. I would love to work in environmental policy, and that's kind of something that I'm hoping to pursue post-graduation. So for me, those two actually ended up aligning in a way that I definitely didn't think they would.
I can also touch on that. Similarly, I ended up falling in love with my plus, and we're now going steady together for my full-time job. So I'm going to be doing corporate strategy for Disney, the media company, and I'm able to apply definitely a lot of my engineering concepts, particularly around thinking linearly about strategic topics, but also in my actual computer science elements. And I'm very much excited to be doing it, although I'll miss doing those weekly programming projects for sure.
I think mine's like a little less direct, but I basically went into environmental engineering because I was like, I want to make a difference in the world, and this is where I think my passion can lead me to making a difference. And in Camp Kesem, there's just such a tangible impact on all of the campers and the counselors. I mean, like, they're changing my life, I'm changing theirs, and I think it just reassured me that like environmental engineering is where I want to be in. I know whatever job I end up in, I want to feel like I'm making an impact, and that's definitely still something I'm like trying to figure out, but I know that like Camp Kesem is the reason why I know I need to make an impact and I need to feel like kind of a purpose in whatever job I pick.
Great, thank you guys. I know for me, don't like answering that question, so very brave of all of you, for sure. I want to ask a quick fun question. We have about 15 minutes left in our presentation, so maybe like 2 or 3 more questions before we're done. But this is from David. This is fun. What is the craziest pairing that you've heard of? He says computer science, but I'm going to say any engineering major and plus. Like, what do you think is like the weirdest combination?
I feel like at this point I've seen it all. Like I've seen like real estate and computer science. I've seen recruiting and computer science. I've seen food and computer science. Like anything really at this point. I can't think of anything that wouldn't make sense specifically with computer science.
One of my captains when I was, I think, a freshman playing Ultimate Frisbee, he was a mechanical engineering major, and he worked for a Frisbee company doing like aerodynamic design for their discs. So I think that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that might win. That might win. That's definitely cool. I know someone who dropped out of engineering and decided to go to culinary school, but I don't know if that counts as an engineering plus.
Yeah, I don't have one that I think is craziest because I think they're all just so incredibly cool. But I have one pairing that I see a lot in Viterbi that for some reason is my favorite. And that's engineers who are really involved with rock climbing. And they are like, oh yes, this is what I do when I leave class. You know, I just go hiking for like 4 days in the mountains. And I think it's the coolest pairing ever.
True. There is a surprisingly large number, I would say, of engineers who are like insanely involved in like outdoor, like everything, really. Yeah. Okay, so one more question before our final Why USC question, which a lot of people have been asking in the chat. And it's just really, what advice do you have to freshmen maybe who have a lot of interests? Like, what did you do to prepare for college? And what would you say that you wish you did to prepare?
I've actually been thinking about this one a lot lately. My younger brother is going through the same process you all are. He's also a senior in high school. And so a lot of what I've been trying to do is, give advice, but, kind of step back and realize that it's difficult for me to tell you guys to do things that I would have done differently, because I think for me, especially, discovering my interest outside of engineering was very much something I fell into. And, I had to make mistakes along the way and, declare interests that I realized weren't really my big thing. I switched minors my sophomore year. I used to be a classical perspectives minor like Domini. But now that I am where I am, I think I had to, go through all those iterations of figuring out what I'm interested in to be able to get to where I am. So it's a little hard to necessarily say, don't do this instead, because ultimately, your path is going to be unique, and that's going to be what gets you to understand what you're interested in.
The best advice I ever got, and I think some of you were in the room, but it was from Paul Ledesma, famous, excellent personality guy, so charismatic, of the engineering school. And he sat a group of us down freshman year, and he said, the biggest mistake you guys are going to make is focusing on school freshman year. And that was not advice I was expecting from one of the heads of the engineering school. But he said, look, anyone who gets into USC is very smart, and engineering is tough, and you're going to have to work at it. But the most important thing about freshman year and starting out at a university is getting your roots with the people in your life and making sure you have strong support networks. So that would be my number one piece of advice. And the most important time to do that is first semester freshman year. And the second best time to do that is second semester freshman year. And the number one best time to do it is like the first week. So we've already passed the first week, but you guys get the point. Like, it's important to start those things early, because over time, relying on those networks becomes so important. And also, you'll notice that other freshmen are going to be most excited to make friends right away. And once they start making friends, you can definitely make friends with them, but it'll get harder over time. So it's really important to focus on that early on.
I think I have two. One of them would probably be like, it's never too late to join something. You know, if you get sophomore year and you're like, oh, I really wish I joined that club, go for it. Like, definitely, it's never too late to join. I can't say that enough. I know it can be intimidating. You're like, I'm a junior and I'm just joining this club. Maybe you're going to find your best friend in it. Definitely go for it. And then my other would be, I feel like, and it doesn't come from Viterbi, but in general, there's a pressure to like be a certain type of engineer just because of the media. And I know going in, I was like, oh, I should, join a design team my first semester, but I didn't. And I joined Camp Kesem, and I think a lot of it was because I'd seen an upperclassman engineer in it. And I think that was definitely just the best thing I could have done for myself. I was like, no, I'm going to follow my interests. I'm going to try a lot of things freshman year, and I'll figure it out. I can always join design teams. And if you're interested in that first semester, go for it. But don't let that pressure stop you from pursuing whatever your interest might be.
I think for me, I left high school with a very strong idea of like what I thought my interest would be. And like I had mentioned earlier, like I'm a big planner. So I had this great plan in place, and it's fine to have a plan. It's fine to have goals. In fact, like I would encourage it. But just don't be afraid to reevaluate those goals after your first semester, after your first year, even after every year after that. Make sure that, you're still doing things that make the current you happy, because you'll be surprised by what you'll find once you get to college.
Yeah, I think Jillian makes an amazing point, and that would be my number one thing that I would give advice to current high school seniors, is that enjoy what you have now. USC and most colleges are set up so that, when you get there, they're designed for you as a freshman to not need anything to succeed. You don't need to come in having a really advanced knowledge of a certain topic. You don't need to come in having a bunch of friends going with you to that school. With that in mind, you should be focusing on what makes you happy right now. Think of the friends you have right now. Make special effort to connect with them. Just know that, there's going to be a huge turning point in your life when you graduate high school. And if you enjoy what you have right now, you're going to have something that you can hold on to no matter what happens in college. College is definitely going to be an amazing experience for y'all, but live in the moment. Super cliche, but super true.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I think that's all really good advice. I know as a senior in high school, it can be very scary. You have to make a lot of decisions about yourself and what you want to do for your rest of your life. But just know that all of us went through that too, and we're, for the most part, doing great. So yeah, you're going to be fine too. And so it looks like we have about time for one more question. And a lot of people have been asking why each of us chose USC. So I would love if each of the panelists could say why they picked this awesome school that we all go to.
I think one of my main reasons for coming to USC is that even in engineering, especially in computer science, we're given a lot of flexibility within our major. There's a couple of classes that you have to take in order to get that baseline computer science knowledge. But there's a lot of different technical electives you can pick from, ranging from all sorts of topics, from cryptography to like multimedia systems design. There's so many different things you can take, and enough space in your schedule. where you can really do whatever you want with your 4 years here.
For me, a big part of coming to USC was the opportunities. It was a lot. I went to a pretty small high school, so going to a place where, even though Viterbi is kind of a small school, USC is a much larger school. Having that breadth of resources and having that breadth of opportunity was really important to me. Moving to a city, the fact that USC is in the middle of Los Angeles, which is the most vibrant diversity I've ever been to, was a really big deal, because I think it provides a space, not only in a practical standpoint for more opportunities, in terms of jobs and internships and extracurriculars, but when you need to get out of a campus bubble, when you need to de-stress after a day of studying for a midterm, you have a city at your fingertips and a city with so much to do. And I think that is something that's definitely really underrated in the college admissions process, because you get tied up in looking at course plans and, clubs and GPA scores and like which college is ranked higher. And there's so many things about your college experience that are so holistic, and don't discount them when you're deciding where to go. Sometimes it's just a matter of, that place sounds like it could be a cool place to live and go to school in, and that's, enough.
I had the exact same thoughts as Sheetal there. And actually, to be frank, I was deciding between Vanderbilt and USC. And US News and World Report told me I should go to Vanderbilt. But when I went and shadowed each of the schools overnight, what I found was that one thing that really made USC stand out is that all the students were so excited to be there. I think the majority of the students I met said USC was my dream school. I feel so blessed to be here. And they were psyched to be part of the Trojan family. And that is energy that I still get to this day. Alumni have it, current students have it. You feel it on game day when the alumni and the students connect, and it's so magical. And for me, there was just nothing that compared.
The interdisciplinary excellence of USC made it stand out to me. I knew that I was going to be going into engineering and computer science coming out of high school. And so I had a lot of good options of engineering schools. But USC is not just great at engineering, it's really good at a lot of different things. And it's, the music, the film, the arts was especially appealing to me. And I think everyone on this panel with our pluses. And it's not just the fact that USC has great faculty in these areas, it's that among the students that you're gonna meet really exceptional people who are great at a very big variety of things. And those kinds of connections will make your student life, your college, your college experience a lot better. And I can't speak to this considering I'm not graduated yet, but I'm assuming these connections are going to be very important even after I graduate.
I feel like there's so many reasons I chose USC, but probably one of the main ones is just the support that I felt from Viterbi. I mean, right away when I was going to the info sessions, I was like, okay, Viterbi wants me to be like my best self as an engineer. I don't have to fit a certain mold at all. They just want to give me all the support for me to follow what I want to do, and they're going to be there when I mess up. And I think a big thing too is like, they're like, I want you to study abroad. I want you to experience everything as an engineer. I want you to have all the opportunities you can possibly have. And that was just so exciting for me because I wasn't always sure I wanted to be an engineer, but here I am, like in this school that's supporting me and throughout the entire journey, and it honestly just feels so great.
Yay, that makes me so happy. I think you guys really summed up why USC for like pretty much every reason there is. I too was watching a live chat, I think when I was senior in high school, spring semester, trying to decide where I was going to go to school. And I think seeing students like this who were just like very honest about USC and are like, students here do whatever they want. It could be engineering, it could be Frisbee, it could be anything. And they care a lot about it. And the school supports that. And I don't know, I feel like that's what really defines Engineering Plus. And that's the only place I could really picture myself at. So I'm glad you guys really covered the bases with why USC is so great. And so that was our final question. I hope you guys felt like this was a great live chat and really enjoyed it. And maybe you gained some insights on what Engineering Plus really means and what it's like at USC. And really, thank you guys. Thank you, panelists. This was such an awesome time talking to you. And I'm so glad so many people tuned in. Good luck on your college applications. Stay safe. And as always, Let's do a group fight on. Ready? Fight on.
Awesome. That was a great live chat, Cami. We're going to restart that.
I love it. No, keep it in. I love it. Every time we come back from an episode, this is my favorite part. I was like, is she going to do it? Is she going to do it? And this is how she starts. Awesome. Okay. Yes.
Yep, it was.
Cami, what was your favorite kind of takeaway from this whole event and talking about things outside of engineering?
I think it was just cool how everyone was like very different in terms of what they were passionate about outside engineering. Like, I feel like typically we like to talk about art as like a very different thing, but yeah, these students just really like took it in totally different directions, be like public service or like startups and stuff like that. Yeah.
When you were applying to engineering schools, was this one of your concerns about the idea of like that stereotypical, prototypical engineer that only does one thing? And was that a concern of yours? Because especially both of you were coming from different backgrounds.
I mean, yeah, this is why I chose US. I think actually that was something about the panel is that pretty much everyone was like, the reason I picked USC is I saw myself in people who had outside interests, and it wasn't this stereotype of an engineer. And that made me feel like I belonged, which was cool.
And go ahead, Audrey, sorry.
Oh, I would just say definitely the same for me. Like that was probably one thing I was looking for more than anything when I was considering an engineering degree, was like somewhere that I could also do something else. You know, whether I've lived up to that or not at USC, that's definitely something I think about, but I've had the opportunity to. So I think it's cool that, you know, one, just your peers have interests outside of engineering because that makes them like better engineers. For example, in my senior design group right now, one of the guys on my team is like really interested in design. And that's like helped us with a lot of what we do is like presenting and stuff like that. So, you know, these skills totally come into play and it makes all of us better. And then at the same time, I think it's good to sort of have a little bit of a breather from math at times. So.
So this is something you didn't necessarily find at other schools that you were applying to when you were going through the process.
Definitely. I mean, I think some, you know, just the nature of some engineering schools, you know, they're an engineering school. Like most of the students there are studying engineering. Well, you know, there are a lot of schools like that are specifically engineering schools. And that's definitely not the case at USC. Of course, we have an engineering school, but we also have a cinema school, an architecture school, and an art school, you know, and I just think it adds a lot to have that like kind of vibrancy on campus is really what I would describe it as.
Fantastic. Well, ladies, thank you so much for a fantastic episode, and thank you for all that you do. I hope that you are both staying well, and I hope that you wrap up your semester quite well. I know you got about a little over 5 weeks to go, and so I'm really excited to have you guys get through this, and hopefully we'll all see each other soon. I don't know when, but I hope we'll see each other in person real soon. So thanks a lot. We'll see you all later.
Thanks.